Oh, hello there. Welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga show with me, your host, Agostinho Zinga, and this is episode number 2. 6, 3, 2, 6, 3. With me, your host, Agostinho Zinga. Welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga show. I was struggling there to, name all the numbers and stuff and say them in Spanish, but it is what it is. I'm learning day by day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are doing good. It's Monday morning, sometime here in East London, and the sun is shining from the right-hand side of my window. If you can't see that, it's because you listen via the podcast app. And if you listen via the podcast app, why are you not on the YouTube app? If you're not on the YouTube app, why are you not on the podcast app? Vice versa. Regardless, if you're confused, if you're stuck, check the link in the description. If you're on the podcast app, you're on our website on there, agostinhozinga.com. Click YouTube, you're able to see the YouTube. You're able to see me in full 720p HD, right? If you're listening via the podcast app, or if you're watching via YouTube, actually, check the show note description. There'll be a link there to subscribe to my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the other podcasts and apps that you use. You'll be able to find my podcast, Agostinho Zinga Show. The Agostinho Zinga Show. You'll be able to find it wherever you locate your podcast. But regardless of that, how are you guys doing this sunny Monday morning? As you can tell, I'm very well hydrated, very well fed, ready to go. I got a little bit of a pump on. Going to get this podcast in, get to work, come back 5 miles. The usual standard procedure. I do what I do when I do it. Hope you guys are doing good. You doing good? Boom, amazing. So much stuff to get into. I'm in a bit of a bad mood today because of United faltering against Aston Villa once again. I'm not going to bore you with all my football chat, but you can click the link in the description. I've got a separate playlist that I upload on my YouTube, all my kind of football rants on, so you can check that out. Also check out my football, specifically Man United Pacific podcast, which you can find on your podcast apps called called Stratford Red Devils. Find out on your podcast app now, Stratford Red Devils. I post on there usually twice a week, everything concerning Man United and football and the broader scope of things. Yes, I know I'm a busy guy, I'm hustling, I'm doing what I can do, but check out my other podcast, Stratford Red Devils. It's available now on all your podcasts and apps if you want to hear me talk about football. But this platform I'm going to reserve for streetwear, electronic music, and everything else in between. Okay? Cool. All right. So, loads of stuff to get into, loads of news that's been permeating over the interwebs. If you're new around these ways, then what I do during the week, I collect all this news concerning streetwear, art, culture, design, music, fashion, sneakers, general stuff on the interwebs. I save it on a list and I kind of go through them week by week. Sometimes I do 5 shows a week. Sometimes I do 6. Sometimes I do 3. Regardless, you're always going to find a show one time per week available on all your podcasts and platforms. I also upload little clips you'll be able to find on my channel of stuff that I've kind of dug from the podcast. If you think, if I don't deserve an hour of your time, which is quite fair, then you can check out the clips and maybe listen to me rant for 4 minutes to 5 to 6 to 7 to 10 to 12 to 22 minutes sometimes on various other topics. You'll be able to find that too if you scan around and check your recommended list. I'm sure a couple of my clips will come up. Anyway, so much stuff to get into. Let's get right into it. I've got a whole list to get through. I've got to bang this out and I've got to get to work. So let's not waste any more time than we already have. So number one talking point, I want to just congratulate a local MC and also an idol of mine and probably my favorite MC of all time in DWE. It's just been announced here, or I've got news here actually, that he's going on tour, which is absolutely amazing to see. There was a time previously when I remember us being in school and we always kind of bemoaned the fact that not a lot of people outside of our, little locale of East London, or sometimes even London specifically, knew that much about how great our MCs were, especially during the time when we were coming up in school, listening to pirate radio stations and recording them on janky cassette players and replaying them and swapping tapes and stuff and losing them and getting annoyed, right? We used to, honestly, grime was essentially my life for maybe, 5 to 10 years of my life growing up in school. I listened to nothing else but grime. I learned to DJ through grime. I tried to MC or spit because of grime, but quickly found out that I wasn't good enough. And in general, just that whole environment, Garage Nation, going to raves, house parties, stuff in bloody youth centers and stuff. It was an absolutely amazing time to grow up, and none more so than the Nasty Crew era, right? That was probably excellence, at the highest, probably MCing at its highest caliber. Just high caliber MCs, all different types, flows, styles, just really giving it to you week in, week out, and probably one of the best DJs, maybe granddads of all time in Mac 10. I don't know, probably close to that. And I even got the chance to book him for a party, a few years later when I was, doing the whole party promotion thing in East London. I got to book Mac 10 to play at a party I was putting on, which was quite surreal. But regardless of that, big fan of grime, love it. Never will stop loving it. And obviously DW's one of my favorite MCs. He's had a bit of a weird career. I think solo wise it hasn't necessarily kicked off in a way that I would have hoped it to kick off. I think sometimes as fans we hope that our favorite MCs can become a lot more successful than they probably want to be. Maybe DW doesn't want to be, you know, the pop star that I want him to be in that regard because of how much influence he's had on my life and how many good times I've had listening to the stuff that he put out. But I feel like in the last 2 years or so, he's finally found his groove. I think the Bluka album that I had last, I think that was the one I had previously that I've listened to, the one with a kind of cartoon image on the outside. That was really good. He's done some excellent features. And also he's been featured on a bloody IKEA commercial recently, which is, you know, if you know anything about commercial work, you know that it's big money. So I'm really happy. I'm really pleased for him in that regard. What's the latest release he's done album-wise? Yeah, Jackham, sorry. Jackham, the album from last year was really cool. I really enjoyed that. And I think by and large, for the most part, he's done a really effective job in trying to keep himself around. I think he did a really great set during Boiler Room recently. It might have been during the whole Boiler Room festival. I think it might have been during that whole era, during that whole time frame a few weeks back. So that was really cool. Obviously, he's done the IKEA commercial that I'm sure a few of you guys have seen previously, but it's also been announced he's going on tour in the UK. This is from Mixmag. The news says the following. Grime legend DWE will embark on a 3-date UK tour next April. On April the 1st, he'll play at the Birmingham's Mamaroo, heading to Manchester Soup Kitchen the following evening, and the tour will round up for the new King's Cross-based venue, Lafayette, which I'm sure some of you have heard about, right? It's opened up recently, some live band, but it looks really cool. They have, I think, wood interior. Just a really kind of small, intimate little arena to see live bands, which maybe might take over some other spots around that area, but that's cool to see regardless. The news of the tour is fresh off his vocal appearance on the IKEA's debut Christmas advert, which has been seen and developed into a new full-length single, Fresh and Clean, Silence the Critics. You can grab your tickets to the tour here and check out the tour flyer below. Let's check out the IKEA commercial again, actually. I thought that was really enjoyable. I really enjoyed that when it came on, because I rarely, if ever, watch... let me see if I can find it. Oh no, that's not actually the commercial. But I rarely, if ever, watch TV. And I think actually for the first time, I think, where was I be? I must have been maybe in a Chinese shop or something, or one of them things. And it just came on TV. I was like, rah, that's DWE, right? Playing on a thing. It was so cool to see. Let me see if I can get it up on YouTube, and hopefully I don't get yanked off of it. But I thought it was really fun to actually hear it. DWE, IKEA. See if I can find it. Yeah, there we go. You got that IKEA commercial here on their actual channel, which is great. And he's also got some. I think whoever's handling his promotion and his kind of rollout is doing a better job than previously, because I can already see the 2 videos prior, you know, post the IKEA commercial coming out. Automatically, we've got him sitting down with Noisy and doing a response to your comment. It'll be nice to see him sit down with GK and do some other stuff and flow it out that way. We've got a chicken shop date from a year ago, but you know, I'm not really a fan of that show, so you can miss that one. But I think it's good to see his team are doing a good job in terms of handling the kind of post IKEA moment and making sure they kind of utilize it in the best way possible. But let's just quickly play this IKEA commercial because I thought it was absolutely great. DWE, I love taking this from my Alexa. Look at this. Yeah.
I must confess.
Yeah.
This place ain't blessed. This place is a mess.
Yeah.
But don't deserve no guess. No. In here, I don't want to lay down or rest. That crack in the wall needs addressing. The state of the floor is just depressing. This table's older than the pyramids. Older? At least it's younger than the mirror is.
Hey.
This place is small and it's barely a house.
Yeah.
Never mind the cat, you couldn't even swing a mouse. Those curtains are looking tired. Decorations are tired. Look, your style is fired. It's like somebody hit you with a bulldozer. If your house was a car, it would get pulled over. This is very unacceptable.
Nah, it's so good, man. I recommend you check it out. IKEA commercial with DWE, Silence the Critics. Single out now as well, I think, on all streaming platforms. Check it out, man. One of my favorite MCs of all time. I'm so happy for him. I'm so glad he's finally getting a big look commercially. I know what these commercials do to your pockets. I've heard the rumors. I know the chat. So I'm happy that he's lining his pockets, you know, making sure he gets his He's just dues and he's getting his flowers now, innit? While he's around to smell them, man. So that's great to see. So definitely check that out. DWE Silence to Critics, courtesy of IKEA. He actually doesn't DWE have a bar about IKEA back in the day? I'm pretty sure he does, isn't it? So anyway, whoever's responsible for it as well at IKEA, big up to you too, pat on the back, because sometimes these marketing agencies can be a bit, they can be a bit out of touch and a bit dead. So especially in this era where, for the most part, especially in this era, for the most part, most people don't watch TV adverts, and you have to really make a splash on the internet to kind of make any kind of impact to kind of allow you to kind of go viral. So for them to tap someone like DWE, who is for all terms and purposes pretty underground for the in terms of the general consciousness, unless you're tapped into grime and about underground culture, then you won't necessarily know who DWE is. For him to tap him and not get some flavor of the month young kid to do it is a big look. And again, it just means so much. It means so much to me. I'm sure people, it means so much to them too, and happy to see him win. So by and large, overall, big up to everyone involved with it. Advert, you did a great job. The entire team is responsible. Even if it's an in-house team, that's even better. If it's an agency, then huge props to you too, because you could have easily phoned it in. So yeah, big up everyone involved. Great job. So that's one. Then moving on in, we've got some beef, man. Some electronic music beef, which is always interesting to see, because for the most part, these people are just arguing over nothing really, because they're all rich and famous in their own regard. But it's great to see different levels of, different opinions actually from different people in the industry, and to see kind of where their audience kind of falls in it and their kind of loyalty. So weird beef in that regard. We've got CamelPhat v Seth Troxler. Now, I think if you're familiar with Seth Troxler and you're a fan of Seth Troxler and everything he kind of represents, you will know that he's long had a big disdain, or he's long had a very he's had a reputation for hating EDM for a while, right? But I wouldn't necessarily say CamelPhat EDM. I'd say they probably fall under the kind of tech house umbrella. But then in Seth Troxler's defense, he might say modern, especially contemporary tech house that you see nowadays, especially the type of stuff that is very popular with the kind of Essex crew, he might think that falls into the EDM umbrella too, because for the most part it doesn't seem as if there's any kind of love or appreciation for music. It's just like a scene thing, which is not a bad thing. I think I always get the impression some of my mates that I kind of grew up with in East London, who have now kind of grown up and maybe matured and evolved into liking stuff like tech house, they probably wouldn't have liked it when I was in school. I definitely didn't. They like it more so because it's quite social, right? You can go and see a big DJ play at Printworks, at 93 Feet East, at these, whatever random festivals there may be that they go to. You can buy most of those festivals, most of those nights do group discounts. A lot of mates can turn out. The music is quite, groovy. It kind of can cover a whole remit of sounds for the most part. I get the appeal with the Essex crew. Honestly, I get the appeal. It's a lot more appealing to go to a tech house night than it would be to go to a night, a real queer, Pacific aggressive techno night at somewhere like Grease Muller. I understand, right? I don't think those crowds work in the same place. I don't think you could take a club kid from Grease Muller and put them into a 93 Feet East in the rave and think it's going to work, and I don't think you could do it vice versa. That's perfectly fine. They can operate in different areas. But I think the thing that people are not understanding about Seth, which I like about him, especially in the era of have you ever spoken to a friend and asked them what music they like? Sorry. And for the most part, even I have the tendency to, I can sometimes tend to say, I like most things, especially being a DJ myself. I tend to try to listen to everything, give everything a chance, just to make sure I'm not missing out on any great music, because I have these, preconceived ideas. But it's quite admirable for someone in Seth Troxler's position to be like, you know what? I just don't like that. I just don't like you. I just don't like this sound. I just don't like that scene. Just to be flat out with it. Nothing against it, just to say I don't like it. And I think there needs to be more of that in the electronic music space. I think the idea that everyone's all kumbaya and friendly is fake, because I know for the most part, like in most scenes, like in most communities, like in most subcultures, when they're all, in the safety of, their own homes, or they're around people that they trust, I'm sure they're all bitching and moaning about people that they don't rate, or parties they thought were horrible, or promoters that are janky. It happens all the time. So to expect them to not say nothing doesn't make any sense. And also I think it comes from a realer place, because Seth Troxler is as successful, or probably as, maybe on paper as successful as some of these other contemporary EDM dudes. Maybe he's not as flashy with his money as some of those guys are, but you know, everyone can do what they want with their money. But I think it comes from a realer place because Seth Troxler is also successful. So you have to take what he says with some kind of value to it. You know, it has some kind of weight to what he's saying. So anyway, let's kind of give a rundown with the whole events. This website called EDM.com broke it down, and supposedly Eric Prydz jumped in as well to kind of defend these boys, because obviously I'm assuming he probably had some smoke for Seth Troxler because of what he said previously regarding the EDM scene. But let's go through the whole series of events. Eric Prydz defends CamelPhat after critical tweets from Seth Troxler. The post is the following: fans in the house and tech house world have been closely following, debating and making memes about the CamelPhat controversy since it began on Saturday night. Seth Troxler, the DJ behind the Instagram post that kicked off the debate, made a series of social media posts critical of CamelPhat's music. So this is it, right? This is the post that they're talking about. So Seth Troxler said the following. This is on his Instagram stories, I'm imagining, right? He posted an image that says, "The Matrix is broken, everyone has gone numb." Or everyone's gone dumb, sorry. Because he went on CamelPhat's profile and it says in their bio that they're Grammy nominated, Ivor Novello nominated, and Beatport's biggest selling artist. And he's put a circle around and he put "kill me," and he's got a picture of some kid. Looks like he's hung himself? Or is that, no, just like a hand up. Looks like he hung himself. So clearly he's not a fan, right? So going back to the article, this led to widespread debate among other producers and fans alike. A notable reply came from Eric Prydz, caught wind of the controversy and weighed in. In a series of tweets, Prydz both came to defense of the British duo, as well as to call upon Troxler to use Twitter and his music to show them what he can. Okay, so this is Eric Prydz's defense of CamelPhat, which I thought was a bit weak, but here's what he said. Hey, Seth Troxler, I know what you're on about. The mass ain't liking what you play. That's what underground is. You need to use your supremacy and your amazingness to learn these kids that CamelPhat are crap and that you and your mentors are the superior and the answer. So please, I'm waiting. Use your music and this Twitter platform to show us what we've all been missing. Show me your recent music that you will outlive Cola or Constellations. I'm pretty sure those are different tunes that they've made. Okay, cool, no problem. So first of all, I think I'm a Seth Troxler fanboy, right? Like everyone knows that. Most of my friends know that. I think during the heydays of Seth Troxler, when he had the little twisty mustache and he had the afro, I completely copied his style in that regard. I modeled kind of half of my kind of come up based on him. I was trying to get a record store job because of the interview he gave because of how his come up was working in a record store and doing that sort of malarkey. I tried to stick with vinyl for a long time because he was playing vinyl, then he switched to USB, I switched to USB. So I'm a big fan of Seth Troxler. Always been a big fan of his. But I think the post was shitty. I think when he makes comments in public about EDM or on panel discussions and stuff, that's fair. I think when people are speaking about EDM or speaking about the future of electronic music and they come over to him and he kind of gives his candid answer, I'm sure most people don't have a problem with it, even though it probably might be annoying to the artists that have been thrown under the bus, whether it's Skrillex, whether it's, you know, whoever it may be. I'm sure they are getting annoyed by it, but if someone's asking his opinion, then it's pretty fair. But to come out of the blue on a Saturday night and just completely hammer these guys, it seems like he stumbled upon their profile one time during a lot of Twitter scrolling. I think that's a bit out of order. I don't think that's cool. Again, I just think electronic music, we're at a point in electronic music where everybody is able to make a career in their own little respective scenes without intruding on others. No one's taking each other's fans. I don't think Seth Troxler's fans even overlap with CamelPhat fans at all. I wouldn't imagine so. And if they do, then fair play. But I don't think they are choosing sides. They don't mind going to a Seth Troxler night and they don't mind going to a CamelPhat event. They both kind of operate in different fields and get money in their own sort of ways. I don't really see where the resentment will come from, because I think for the most part, resentment from fellow artists, I know for myself on the come up as being a underground DJ, kind of coming on my way up the ladder. Some of the resentment that I might have had previously would come from the idea that the person that's quote unquote above me on paper or with the amount of bookings they have hasn't been in the game as long as I have, or hasn't been putting in the work as long as I have, right? That could be a point of resentment. But again, that's not constructive because there are other factors at play. That person might be more commercial viable than me. They might have more contacts than me. They might just be lucky, whatever. There's other things at play as opposed to just if you put these X amount of hours in, you should be X amount of hours forward. That's not how it works. That's not how life works, unfortunately. It's one element of it, right? You have to have the talent. You have to have the work ethic to, survive and to kind of thrive and kind of keep going. But there's other things outside of what's in your control that kind of contribute to your success. So that part of that kind of resentment doesn't really exist because because Seth Troxler is successful. He's a big DJ. You know, he's rated very highly on the RA DJ polls back in the day when they were still around. He has effectively a cult following after some of the interviews that he's done and some of the legendary sets that he's played. And for the most part, all the big DJs out there respect him as a quote-unquote DJ, right? No, I was going to say selector because he hates that, so I'm going to say DJ. Everyone respects him as a DJ, and I'm not even counting his producing credits, which are really incredible too. So I don't think he can I don't think it's fair to kind of say that. But then on the other hand, I also think we shouldn't be surprised. This is Seth Troxler. This is the same guy who I think I mentioned it in a previous podcast when he went to what's that festival called? Tomorrowland. Look at his reaction when he goes to Tomorrowland. This is a video from 6 years ago. It looks like, right? Or 6 years ago, or 45 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. Seth Troxler's at Tomorrowland, and just look how he's reacts to everyone around him. He absolutely hates it. So he's been quite consistent in his hate for this kind of music, or this kind of scene. And when I say scene, I mean the people that go to these events aren't necessarily, I would say personally, they're not necessarily there to hear a particular track or to, you know, get absorbed to new music. They're there because it's an actual event. It's a fun, it's like an adult fun fair. And they kind of, you know, they build Tomorrowland as that anyway. If you've watched the videos of vlogs of people at Tomorrowland, they have like, you know, restaurants there, they have amusement parks, like it's a little village. It's similar maybe to Burning Man in that respect. Like it's fully kitted out. You can just kind of, you know, survive and thrive the entire time that you're there. And if you want to, you can effectively maybe go to Tomorrowland at the entire time and not hear one DJ set. Just kind of, you know, mooch around the scene, go from restaurant to restaurant, go to bar, little hangout, get yourself a massage and just hang out. That's essentially what it is. So I can understand his disdain for it. But if you look at his videos, he hates the entire time. He hates it the entire time he's there. Now, why he's there, on one hand, you know, it's debatable, but I think maybe in his defense, he might be like, hey, I was bashing this scene for ages. They wanted me to, they reached out and wanted me to play. It was a good bag. I'm going to go there and play and see what it's about. But, you know, look at him. He just completely hates it the whole time he's there. He's so bewildered by all the mess around him.
It bothers me. Listening
people half interested, not really caring, pyrotechnics, like repetitive sounds, like, and I think that's something a lot of the CamelPhat dudes or a lot of tech house dudes have to take into consideration too. A lot of the stuff they make is very repetitive, like just objectively speaking. I'm not gonna say it's good or bad because everyone enjoys what they enjoy, right? For the most part, I don't know. I can't stand, you know, modern day pop music. Like, you know, I might like, you know, one Taylor Swift track. Apart from that, it's complete garbage, but she's one of the biggest stars in the world. But, you know, objectively, most of her songs sound the same. Same with EDM. Most of it sounds the same.
It really upsets me. I've been calling us on that stuff lately sonic ear rape. He's sonically raping my ears.
Look how pissed off he is. Look at his face. So you got that statement, right? He absolutely hates this. Then you've got another video I found on YouTube where he's asked specifically about his disdain about EDM, and hear what he says.
Talking about music, yesterday during your keynote, you I didn't feel frustration, but there was something you told us you didn't like about EDM, about the growth of EDM, about EDM going too commercial. Can you tell us something more about that and what you meant with that?
I mean, I think my thing with EDM is the fact that it doesn't seem that anyone really cares about music.
Oh, so I just said that actually. Yeah, there you go.
The main interest isn't music, you know. It's about like flash this, let's do that, let's create a super brand that's like boom, 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 boom. But like, where is the focus on creating just like good music? And
which isn't a bad thing, right? I think as well. That's where maybe the snobbiness of Seth Troxler comes in, which I don't have a problem with. I think it's quite nice to have people operate on that level who are quite snobby and have a disdain about certain things, right? I just don't like this stuff, but I don't think it needs to be good. I think it does. Those things. I think of my friends I grew up with in school, right, who are a little bit, I don't know. It's like they're the average Joe on the road, right? But they want to go out at night, but they don't necessarily want to, because there's no middle ground. Think about it from their point of view. Where's the middle ground between going to a really commercial, horrible club, right? Like maybe Ministry of Sound, and then going to a really underground rave somewhere in a basement somewhere in the middle of Berlin. There's no real middle ground, and the middle ground might come in the form of EDM in some respects and some tech house. That's the middle ground, because you get people that's around you, right, that kind of look like you are from the same sort of scene, same sort of area, same sort of influences, same sort of life experiences, especially from the Essex type people. And it's a bit of a safe space in your regard because, you know, for the most part, are they going to be fully comfortable in a really progressive queer night with lasers and people with piercings all over their... No, they're probably not going to be comfortable in that place. Are they also going to be comfortable in a place where everyone's doing table service and there's sparklers coming out of bottles? Probably not. So there has to be a middle ground, and I feel like maybe EDM and tech house is the perfect middle ground for them. But I think if you live on either ends of the spectrum, or especially if you're on the underground electronic side of it, especially if you're in the tech house side of it, which is good or which is deemed as acceptable, you will feel as if they are taking your sound and diluting it and then giving it to the masses, which again can be annoying for a creative. But I think in general there is rarely any cross-pollination. For most of the best nights I've been to that are really underground and serve the actual ravers and people that actually care about the music, it's rare that you get those kind of fly-by-night people who just want to go out on a Saturday night out and hear, you know, big heavy tunes. Not really. It doesn't really happen that way. And I also think sometimes as well, artists can't really control who their fans are, innit? I think maybe Maya Jane Coles may have suffered from it when she blew up, right? She kind of blew up and it suddenly had fans that she probably didn't want to be her fans, and then kind of had to take a bit of a break and step back and, you know, come out with another pseudonym, different kind of artistic direction, just to kind of get rid of that kind of that stink that kind of commercial hit stink that she had all over. And again, it wasn't her fault at all, right? She just made a banger and it happened to take off.
Like music that is actually in the history of time going to be really remembered. You know, and that's beautiful. You know, I like. Does anyone have the idea of like creating a legacy and leaving some type of beauty behind? You know, I think they're just about getting paid. You know, but that's just my own view. Maybe in their minds, throwing cakes at people is like some deep way of artistic expression. Kind of like, Alex, who's that ginger dude who used to fucking blow up the watermelons? Like Gallagher. You know, Gallagher guy. He's like, hey, I'm Gallagher. I've got a sledgehammer. And there's a watermelon. Who wants it? Oh no, I'm not gonna. And there's watermelon on your face. Maybe in his mind, he thought that was some deep way of expressing his like emotional frustration with the geopolitical situations of his time. You know, that might be, you know, the cake or the stage driving or the fireworks. The fireworks may not really be a pyrotechnic trick that
so
you
much
pay for to kind of, you know, get some type of wow factor because your music sucks. It might be a, you know, cathartic release of the intentions or the suppressed emotional baggage of that last Britney hears that, you know, I don't even know what they play. I was trying to think of like some pop song that they remixed. I lost myself in like an analogy that I was coming up with off the top of my head, but
anyway, you get the point, right? He absolutely hates electronic music, so I don't really. So he actually hates EDM and all those guys, and I'm not surprised that he's probably getting into the CamelPhat dudes who are probably skirt towards more the tech house side of things. CamelPhat's reply to it was a bit interesting in that regard. I think for the most part, most of their fans really liked what they had to say and liked what the music kind of put out in that regard. Let's quickly check it. This is CamelPhat's Instagram, and they replied pretty decently, I think, for the most part. I think they realize it from Seth Troxler's point of view that it is basically a taste thing. Seth Troxler just isn't into what they're doing. Let me see if I can find them. They put a post on here that says the support they've had in the last few days has been completely overwhelming from the right across the board, from DJs to promoters, clubbers, and people who I don't even like dance music, especially ours. Thanks very much anyway. It's nice, warm, fuzzy feeling, which is fair, innit? I think for the most part, there has to be a bit of a brotherhood or sisterhood amongst DJs where you just don't attack your own. I think you allow the fans to kind of snipe at each other. I think CamelPhat fans and Seth Troxler fans are allowed to kind of argue over the internet about who has the best music or who's the best DJ. Fair enough. But I think as DJs, I think as producers, I think as creators, I think as participants, people that are contributing to their scenes, to culture in general, you should probably leave each other alone publicly. Again, I'm pretty sure privately in a green room amongst DJs, they obviously bitch and moan about everyone. Everyone does it in every scene. It happens all the time. But I think outwardly, you can't really present that kind of fractured formation because it doesn't help anything because everyone's getting money. All those big brands and sponsors that want to get involved in electronic music now, they're doing it because it's as a whole, electronic music is huge. They're not doing it because one scene's bigger than the other. If anything, some scenes are probably supporting or dragging along other scenes that are probably floundering, right? It's all helping each other come about. I think even the reintroduction of acid acid wouldn't be as popular as it is nowadays, and I'm sure some producers from the 90s specifically are getting paid money now for tunes that they made ages ago because of the resurgence of acid, mostly because of these newer DJs who are in techno playing acid tracks in order to kind of seem a little bit more cultured and have a bit more musical depth to them. So it's something that seems quite surface something that seems quite surface and a bit naff. It's helping and contributing to the back pocket or the bottom line of people who were really into the culture but didn't make any money when they were making the tunes prior. So sometimes there has to be a bit of give and take in that regard. It continues. He went back and forth with some guy that was talking a bit of rubbish, but I think the reply back to Seth was pretty well reasoned, I think, in that regard. What did he say here? Something about they were living in his head rent free. So I think this might have set him. This might be another kind of subtle dig at Seth Troxler. There's a picture here of Steve Aoki surrounded by the CamelPhat dudes and a couple other people. So it says here, it's all about bringing happiness to people. Doesn't matter what kind of sound you create. Well, that's true, but you know, Steve Aoki has to also understand that he did usher in, you know, the rise of that naff kind of stage diving, cake throwing nonsense that was, you know, for the most part, we can all agree, quite across the board that it's a bit naff, it's a bit hacky. But again, if it's something that he likes and he enjoys, and quite clearly people that get splattered with cake in their face absolutely love it, then fair play to him. But I think that's a little bit of a dig back at Seth, because obviously I don't think Seth likes Steve Aoki personally that much. And there's also here a quote back from where they replied back to actually Seth that was quite interesting. It said, living in his head rent free. Where was that one? Where is it? Okay, cool. Here we go. Here, right? So Seth says, I find it funny how in the defense of one we gang vilify others. I have made 2 comments in this thread to the 1,000k plus negative comments I have received. I'm sorry I hurt CamelPhat's feelings and they felt necessary to respond. I understand this, but I also have the right to. You suck at apologies, CamelPhat says, but bring this nonsense to a close. Apology accepted. Each to their own. Totally respect your opinion and your views, but a personal attack, on the other hand, will always get that reaction. All the best for 2020, right? So I think Seth basically kind of rescinded. But again, I think, look, man, we'll have our role to play. I don't think any music is bad or good. For my reasoning behind most things, I just try to ignore the stuff I don't like. I've always done that. I've never wasted any minutia of minutes or time in my life concentrating on stuff that I don't like. Life is way too short, especially for these guys who operate at the top of the fucking mountain, electronic music, getting paid the big gigs, getting flown around all over the place, have fans adoring them, people buying out all their tunes or remix edits they do. Life is too good to be complaining about what some other dude or guy or girl is doing that you don't necessarily like musically. It's just too short. And again, if he does feel collectively like there's a bit of we're in a bit of a stasis and we're a bit stagnant at the moment, it's all cycles, right? We might be going through a bit of a slump at the moment, but there'll be another cycle where, you know, the birth of quality music will come back around again, or will come back again. And I think that is where we're going to basically get to. I think we're seeing that sometimes now, even with I would say maybe an analogy back in fashion now. We're seeing less theatrics on the runway and more so a return back to actual, you know, luxury items, very well crafted fashion pieces, the return of quote unquote tailoring. Maybe they're doing away with athletic wear and streetwear influenced stuff and kind of going back to the actual core of it, and maybe a response back to, you know, what socio-political stuff that we're going through now at the moment, instead of kind of, you know, bemoaning the political landscape at the moment, creating art or creating something beautiful as a form of escape from what's going on. And I think for the most part, if you see some of those tech house nights, everyone's smiling. Everyone's pinged out of their face, you know, ketted out of their face, coked out of their face. They're having a good time, right? So I think they're having a good time and they're loving it and they like what they're doing and they're supporting their scene. You know, there's loads of producers coming out the woodworks, making, you know, a couple of tracks, putting them up on Beatport and suddenly becoming, you know, top selling artists. You know, fair enough, with simple 4-bar loops. I'm no fan of it. I wouldn't go to those kind of nights, but get your money, do your thing. It's quite, you know, they're all supportive of each other. They all go out in big groups. They sell out events and stuff. They fly to exotic locations to support their favorite artists. It's all fair, well and good. There's hardly any crossover, really. I can't remember the last time I went to a night out in Berlin and saw someone from Essex or someone that would essentially go to a tech house night. I don't necessarily see them. They have their own parties. We, quote unquote, have our own parties too. But it's all contributing to the greater whole. Electronic music, dance music on the whole. we all kind of benefit from these varying different factions all succeeding at the same time. So the fact of sniping in public like this doesn't really get too far. And again, it's a bit counterintuitive, I would say, in my opinion. But I also appreciate the fact that Seth Troxler is a DJ at that level and he's not afraid to just say out of hand, look, I think that's shit. Simple as. And that's I kind of have to rate him on that regard. So yeah, the beef is dead now. I think they've squashed it. Everyone's moved on. So it is what it is. But I thought it was funny to just speak about for a couple of minutes. Anyway. Moving on in, moving on out. What else is next on the list here? Let's go, because I think we've done all that in it, right? All that DJ news. So we have some news about the Matthew Williams Joyride trainer that came out as the part of the second collection with Nike. A bit more detail regarding it, because I remember I mentioned previously regarding the whole collection just as a whole. But I think the shoe itself is very interesting. This is the Hype Beast. I quite like the upper. It says here, close look at the Matthew M. Williams Joyride CC3 Setter. I wonder why he calls himself Matthew M. Williams. Probably because he doesn't want to just be Matthew Williams, because it's a bit boring. But the Matthew M. Williams is a bit unnecessary, isn't it? But it's like Stephen A. Smith. Like, come on. But hey, what can you do? The shoe itself is beautiful. So it's a Joyride CC3 Setter, right? The text is the following: with Matthew Williams and Nike series. It's the third collection. It's not the second, the third. Okay, my bad. So I guess the first was what we saw on the runway, the first Paris runway show, right? And then the second was the camo. Or was the second the camo on the right? I'm not sure. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So with the Matthew Williams and Nike Series 3 collection set to arrive on December the 5th, we take a closer look at the footwear releasing alongside the soft goods. Named the Joyride CC Setter, each pair takes Nike's multi-TP bed-filled running silhouette and blends it with the tech wear inspired aesthetic Williams has demonstrated via his label 1017 Alix 9SM, which is a play on the whole Gucci main, right? 1017, right? I'm pretty sure. From the images, we can now get a better look at the sneaker stealthily mesh uppers, synthetic overlays, asymmetrical lacing system, and the burrito tongue. Available in the choice of black or wolf grey. Each pair is equipped with a React midsole, icy blue translucent Joyride cushioning. The Matthew and William Joyride Setter is currently up on raffle end for $169 pounds. Sorry, it's a lot of money in it, really, for those, isn't it? Bloody hell. But I quite like them, man. They're sort of like a mid shoe. I like that kind of mid length shoe, which is maybe similar to a lot of the kind of nice booty Japanese inspired collaborations you might get nowadays. I quite like the translucent sole, is a big win. Triple black upper, you know, I'm always gonna be a big fan of those. The tongue is a little bit there's no tongue on it, right? It's kind of like it's the same sort of like lacing system you maybe get on the Footscape. So that looks quite cool. But I like them in general. I really like them. Got some lace hoops there on the top. So these are probably framed around running, right? Or cross training. That's probably why they've got them there. So if you maybe went on the Nike site, they probably might be underneath cross training, which would be interesting to wear them as an actual trainer, as a gym shoe, right? I'm not too sure if I'll be a fan of those that way, but I like them, man. I think they look really cool. Again, nice translucent sole, black upper, maybe the wolf grey is probably the standout color of them, but I think they fit his collection really well. And again, a really interesting take on the shoe. I think, again, with these collaborations, we don't really give these brands much props for it, but I think especially if you look back at, maybe it was the time, the era that we were in back in the day, but I remember, you know, being on Crooked Tongues and stuff and just, you know, being annoyed that every retro that they basically put out was essentially, you know, ruined by a collaboration that probably didn't need to exist, or the collaboration came around and all they did was change the colorway. Nowadays, brands are really taking a chance because, you know, especially with the captive audience you have nowadays with kids who just want the most hypey sneaker mode out at the moment, Air Force One, Jordan 1, Yeezy, whatever it may be, it'll be really easy for a brand to just come out and just, you know, do a Air Max 1 collab and just change the colorways and get that sell out. So for them to kind of go into the archives, dig a shoe out from the vault that they actually like, that they actually want to wear, and then have the risk that it might end up on the sales rack is a really big it's something that I give a lot of props to, and I think a lot more people need to give a lot more respect to that in that regard, because again, it could easily be a complete dud and end up on a sales rack in TK Maxx, but the fact that he went ahead and brought a shoe as part of his collaboration that actually matches what he does in his main line is incredible. And again, it allows Nike too to reintroduce a shoe maybe that they tried to put out, didn't get any traction, reintroduced it under the guise of it being an Elite collaboration, and see if it works that way. It doesn't seem to be any branding on the shoe to say that it's Elite, which is interesting. I'm not sure if that's a purposeful done thing. Usually they try to have some kind of, okay, they've got his, is it there? MMW at the back of the hill in Boss, but there's nothing that says, okay, so Matthew M. Williams and Nike. It's not a leaks at Nike. That's probably why. That maybe explains it. And again, interesting pivot. He's doing the same thing that Samuel Ross is doing and Virgil are doing, where they're essentially, Virgil does it with Off-White. Off-White is a kind of house that he kind of does these collaborations with, personal collaborations, Nike, IKEA, and all that kind of like some gallery stuff. Simon Ross is doing the same thing. He's kind of pulled away. He's kind of leaves a Cold War to be the brand or the kind of clothing company, and then himself, he does all these little personal projects and collaborations. And then I'm sure Matt Williams is doing the same thing too, by having the MMW signage of his name, and then having the personal collaboration being done that way too, which looks really interesting. And again, allows him to kind of be a bit more playful, maybe take more risks. Maybe that, with that being said, maybe the idea of this shoe wouldn't necessarily fit in with the overall Alix theme. Maybe it'll be something a little bit more industrial looking, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I quite like this. I think it looks really, really cool. And again, Matthew is an actual runner. He actually does work out, so that's cool to see as well. It's not like it's just a shoe made for people that, you know, do Instagram workouts. That's just someone that actually goes and works out and lifts weights and cross trains and stuff. So I'm sure they've done some wear tests with it to make sure it's kind of compatible to that kind of scene. So that'll be cool to check out. But again, a really nice shoe, interesting shoe, great choice. I like the actual execution of it, and I'm sure it will do well when it releases on the 5th of December. So definitely check it out. Available now at End Launches. I'm sure most of you know how to use that End Launch site, which is probably my favorite site of them all. I tend not to do anything else apart from entering raffles. I'm not gonna repost anything. I'm not gonna like an Instagram post or retweet all that nonsense. You can go jump off a bridge. But if it's just entering a raffle, entering your card deals and keeping it moving and waiting to see if you get selected, I'm all game for it. And by and large anyway, most of the time the collaboration isn't the most hype thing. You'll be able to get it on StockX, you know, for, you know, you have to maybe pay 50 quid extra to get on StockX the next day, which is, you know, again, no hassle. If you work full time, you know, idle, you don't want to queue, you can probably just do that. But definitely check it out. It's coming out December the 5th, priced at £169, alongside the whole other collection, I'm pretty sure, right? Or is it just the shoes coming out first? I'm not too sure, but definitely keep an eye on that. Matthew M. Williams and Nike Joyride shoe. Okay, let's end it there. What's next on the list? What else do we have here? We have the Virgil Abloh archive sale, talking about Virgil. He did this, I think, as part of Black Friday from last week, but I just thought it was interesting just to kind of speak about overall. Buddy. So Virgil launched his own personal archive site, which again, it reminds me a little bit, tiny bit, that he's kind of heading more in the direction of Tom Sachs. Tom Sachs does something similar too with the stuff that he has on his websites, which is, you know, not bad in that regard, but interesting application. So it looks like some of the pieces that Virgil might have designed personally as part of exhibitions or this sort, just any kind of miscellaneous items, he sort of like got them together, maybe reprinting some new stuff and essentially selling it on his own personal website, which is incredible. Again, he doesn't do it for the money, I don't think. I think for him, it's just part of the game. It looks like, I remember his interview he did previously, he says he wants to have a really, really big archive of pieces done together. And I think it kind of talks to this book that I have here somewhere, which I've got it. The Hiroshi Fujiwara Personal Effects. Do I have it somewhere here? No, I don't have it there specifically. But Hiroshi Fujiwara has this amazing book, Personal Effects, right? Where he essentially details all of these items that he has, some collaboration, some personal archive stuff, and just puts it all in a nice, like, you know, hard case cover book, whatever it may be. And I think Virgil's doing the same thing with his own personal archive. He just wants to put out as much stuff as possible so that, you know, in 10 years time, he can look back and just say, you know, like the amount of work he's put in that year has just been insane. If you look back at some of the stuff he's done just this year gone by, it's just been nuts. So some of it's just like leftover pieces, but I think it's a pretty clever concept. This is a Hypebeast article. It says he's launching his personal archive sale. Get up here on screen for you guys to see. Says the following: Virgil Abloh is getting up to clear out his personal archive dubbed Canary Yellow in time for Black Friday. Some of Virgil's most coveted creations will be available to the public sale for the first time, but note the range of exclusive items created by Abloh, nothing from Off-White or Louis Vuitton. So this is obviously stuff that, you know, when he's been DJing, he's made maybe tour t-shirts, gallery exhibitions, one-off merch stuff, which is quite the master of doing. And again, it's just supreme level of output. Again, regardless of what you think about Virgil, the one thing you cannot deny, he's a hard worker. He puts out a lot of stuff. And I think by and large, especially when it comes to creating or being a creative, you have to know that you just have to throw a lot of stuff on the wall and hope that some of it sticks. And when it does, you just kind of take that, iterate out again, and keep on going. But the idea of maybe sitting there and perfecting one idea and making sure it's absolutely perfect before launching it is null and void, especially nowadays, especially with all the brands watching, especially if everyone trying to tap into streetwear. If you're a kid out there and you're really creative and you want to get involved, the sooner they get something out, the sooner you ship something. Forget actually just having PSD files and having screenshots of stuff that you're thinking of doing. Actually make some stuff, just some self-indulgence. That's what I like about Virgil too. It looks like he's quite self-indulgent. He pays a salary to make some stuff somewhere else and just takes that money and just makes some stuff for himself. Right, just puts it out there for the sake of it. A tour DJ shirt, a couple of hats to wear when he's playing, whatever it may be. I quite like the idea of just kind of fucking around with stuff and just using your money to kind of be experimental, be creative, so that suddenly maybe one of those kind of offhand little. Because I remember he mentioned, even seen other interviews, that he's always emailing brands and companies with collaboration ideas and trying to get those to work out. And I'm sure nowadays he gets more replies. Back then, when he was relatively unknown, or he had a bit of a corny stink to his name, now he's a bit more respected in the industry. He's probably getting a bit hit back more. But I think that idea of just working constantly at your craft every single day and putting things out is so important. Essentially, he gave himself an archive show. Right, he essentially put the bread up himself, or made the artwork himself and gave himself a retrospective. Usually, you get approached by a gallery or gallerist or curator to kind of put a retrospective together. And maybe at this stage of his career, he probably doesn't need a retrospective, because we know essentially what he did, and there's not much range in it. I don't know, whatever it may be, right? But he did it, and now he's used it as a platform to spawn off other ideas. And it's essentially it's what he's basically done with that retrospective. It's allowed him to kind of effectively move on from all that work prior. Now, especially moving into a new decade, we're going to see completely new work, completely new direction. Even if you get a feel of what he's doing on social and the stuff he's posting, you can tell, like, aesthetic wise, things are changing a bit. His vision's maturing. It's kind of refining itself a little bit more. Maybe the health scare allowed him to kind of focus into some bits, but you can see some changes happening. Anyway, the text says the following on this article: Virgil, the key pieces include items by the popular figures of speech exhibition, ranging from apparel and accessories. Elsewhere, the collectors may cover a $4,000 clear canvas case, blah, blah, blah. But let's look at the items here on the top. Forget the text, it's not important. The images look really cool. We've got this nice cage chair that he did as part of that might have been during Miami Art Basel, maybe. I'm not too sure. But that was fairly interesting. I'm pretty sure we were like that. He's got obviously his book based on a retrospective, filled in with all the personal items that he's designed or things that he's used in previous years. The collaboration with Jürgen Teller as well there. Some pieces from his old Tumblr, Pyrex Vision, which if you're familiar with stuff that he's done previously, you know how important that was when that came out. Some miscellaneous items as well. Just some cool stuff overall, man. I'm a big fan of it. I think he's doing some cool stuff. I think it's available now in his store, isn't it? Right? Let's check this out and see where it's available now. Let's see if it's all sold out. Where is it? Art store, right? This is it, right? The art store. Let's check it out. What he's got available on there. Yeah, it's all quite, again, it reminds me a lot of what Tom Sachs is doing. It feels like he's trying to, this is the Virgil Abloh studio where he kind of does his own personal projects and stuff. And again, it's a really clever, I think the idea that he's turned his portfolio website into a site that kind of encompasses all of his previous works, his effectively DJ schedules on there for you to check out how busy he is, which is a little bit, a little bit self-indulgent, but again, that's just the way he's built. And then he's got this store where he's essentially got all these other miscellaneous items that he's put out. And this, again, you have to imagine the level of output that he does at this level. It's just insane. This is not including the stuff that he's doing for Off-White or stuff that he's doing for Louis Vuitton. Any other personal projects he might have in the works. This is an insane level of output. Books on here. We have prints. We have the chairs, obviously, which are priced at £4,000. We have tote bags. We have snapback hats. Just an insane amount of collection of clothing. Just insane levels of work, man. I really like this top here. This t-shirt is one of my favorites. The canary yellow Think Outside the Box one. Essentially, Think Outside the Box for 2020 with basically the world as a box with a cube, which is good. Maybe harken back a little bit to the flat earth thing, which is quite cool. The cuts on the t-shirt look really amazing as well. You've got good figures of Beats t-shirts, some great sweatshirts. Obviously the Caravaggio Pyrex Vision t-shirt that I'm sure most of you are familiar with. And just really cool stuff, man. Really cool stuff. I like the approach of it. I like the layout. I like what he's doing. I like the idea of, essentially giving yourself a retrospective art show and then taking some of those artwork pieces that were maybe specific to the actual exhibition and allowing everyone else to get some of it as well. That's pretty cool. Again, it's a really cool website overall. I think it's really nice how you laid it out together. He's got his SoundCloud on there, a calendar, dates of all the stuff he's doing. He's going to be at the he's going to be at the RCA very, very soon. And also at Atlanta, Georgia, which is very interesting to see. Loads of pictures from his feed, interviews and stuff. So yeah, some really cool stuff. Recommend you check it out. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. Canary Yellow, that's his website, and all his art materials are on there as well. But yeah, very interesting approach to things. I'm sure we'll see other creatives in the same sort of scene doing the same sort of thing as well, because I know I would if I was working in a scene and bemoaning I didn't get the same opportunity that he did. I'd just be copying his level of output, because his level of output is just insane, absolutely insane. So moving on in, what else do we have here? We have the Cause has been granted an extension. They have a new extension, and they have a new venue, which I'm happy to report, which is great to see. The Cause is obviously a little venue in North London next to Tottenham, which I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with. There's been a very tight relationship with the local council. I think essentially it was a temporary license anyway. They were only meant to be there for a few months, let's say. And then obviously all the buildings around them, if you've been there previously, you know a lot of buildings around that surrounding area of the Cause have been knocked down. Places have kind of moved on, so it did seem quite ominous, and they were meant to celebrate the end of their kind of license. I think the New Year's Eve party was meant to be the kind of the last event. They went as far as securing another spot because they knew they were going to get kicked out of the first Cause place, but in a kind of roundabout way, as building works are quite a bit unpredictable. One setback on one building site can result in months of delays. So essentially, one setback in the building renovations in their local area has led to now the Cause being granted a license to stay, because I'm sure whoever's wants to take over that property likes the fact that they're kind of occupying it for this current time and putting some money in their pocket. So it makes more sense to keep them around, and it's for the local community, for the people that have been to the Cause. It's great news, and it's a point to celebrate. So it's an article from the Resident Advisor. It says the following: the London club The Cause granted extension to stay open. Tottenham club The Cause will stay open beyond January 2020 after it was granted an extension by the Haringey Council. The venue, which has raised more than 50,000 for charity since opening in April 2018, was previously set to close on New Year's Eve to make way for property development. Wow, open April. Honestly, man, the amount of they've packed in so much stuff in that year and a half, essentially, like so many good events. I've been there, I think, about 4 times now. It's one of my favorite places to go to in London. It's a bit out of the way for me, being in East, and I have Fold, which is essentially around the corner. But it's a really, really great little spot. Great sound system, great bunch of locals that are there nearly every week. And again, it serves the local community really well. And maybe it's a good example of my rationale that we should have versions of the Cause and versions of Fold in each area of London. So North London, East London, South London, West London, so that we kind of ease the pressure off of local bars and pubs, which I think are being a little bit besieged by the going out, get hammered crew, because there's nowhere else to go out really for the most part. Nowhere else to go out. We don't have to pay like exorbitant amount of prices at the door. For the most part, the Cause and Fold, the most you're going to pay at the door is maybe 20 quid on a busy night. For the most part, 10 to 15, which is great for most people, right? You don't need to think that much, but when it goes above the 20, it can get a bit dicey. So it continues here. The project has now been delayed for an unspecified period. In addition, the club will have a new license approval, which is the best thing about this news, which means it'll stay open longer on Wednesdays at 3 a.m, which is how it should be, or Thursdays at 4 a.m, which is great, and weekends 6. That's how it should be for all venues in London. I understand some of the venues may be in more densely populated areas surrounding maybe council houses and stuff with a lot of young families. I get it, cool. But for the weekend, it should be 6 by minimum. So that what happens is that people that want to go out and get on it properly can wait, until Friday, until Saturday to get on it, instead of kind of abusing the bar restaurant we have at the moment and, pushing them to the brinks during the week. That's what way to go around it. And again, it just eases the pressure and allows the kind of people to kind of disperse around the clubs a lot more, and not just have a concentration of one group of people in the same place over and over and over again. And that leads to antisocial behavior outside the club, all that sort of stuff. You know what I'm talking about. During the bank holidays, it has an option to run 24-hour parties, which is great, similar to Fold. And the term is applied for the new lease in April 2019. This is a comment from one of the co-founders, Stuart Glenn, says, "It feels like I've been pranked. Sticks, a nightclub opposite, closed last last New Year's Eve, which I've been there as well. That was a really cool venue too. That has been bulldozed. The petrol station next door has been demolished. We see cranes every day. A few weeks ago, we didn't think we had any options. Now we're paying rent on 2 spaces and have an opportunity, the possibility of a pipeline, of another one in the pipeline. It's like a game of musical chairs, and we could literally have no clue what 2020 holds for us. It's that common British saying, isn't it? 2 buses come at the same time, that sort of thing. People always say about buses. You miss one, but then 3 end up coming at the same time. That's how it is in the opportunities. Life can always throw you these curveballs, but then suddenly out of nowhere, you're inundated with options. The possibility of the pipeline is an unnamed venue not far from the cause that has that the team will be trialing in the New Year's Eve with a hope to secure a long-term license. The new space was discovered by 55-year-old regular Nikolai, who works in a chocolate factory opposite. Up-and-coming events of the cause include a drum and bass fundraiser, Jungle Jam, Tribes with Panega, and the 3 decades of London House. The new lineup of New Year's Eve will remain on the undisclosed, though UK Festival free rotation has confirmed its involvement. That's awesome to see a good lineup of events coming up. Again, great to see, man. Does it seem as if it's that easy to open up a club? I'd love to open up a club temporary like that. Maybe you have to put quite a lot of money up beforehand, but it seems cool, man. Big up the cause people, big up everyone involved in it, big up the scene that kind of held that place together, raised loads of money, was supporting it every event they did. The founders as well that run the cause are really cool. If you've ever seen them on Facebook and what they post and stuff, they're very interactive to communicate with the local scene. Everyone kind of feels a part of it, so I'm not surprised they were able to kind of have this good grace be bestowed upon them. So definitely congrats to them, and recommend you check out the cause, especially that New Year's Eve event. That seems like a mental one, 24-hour party, I think in 2 different venues. Definitely check it out if you're that involved. Let's actually check it out for you guys to see here on the screen. This is the cause New Year's Eve double venue party. They still got some tickets left. It says the following: what was meant to be our last party, and the current space has morphed into a first dance of what may not be our new home. Both the cause and our new space will be open all night long. With shuttle buses on the constant rotations taking you to our undisclosed location just 4 minutes away. 1 ticket gets you access to both venues. Wow, amazing, man. As before, the lineup will remain a secret, but ticket holders can expect a strand of dance music to over multiple rooms and 2 venues. The new space will be curated by one of the most respected festivals and truly underground members only. Free rotation alongside the London Love Party, which lay the DNA of the cause and they're responsible for the club's biggest show, Tribes. Across 2 venues, expect some very big surprise guests who have never played the club before, alongside some of his favorites, friends and family. Please join us for a double venue adventure. This will never be repeated. Amazing, isn't it? 2 venues, 24 hours. That's flipping great to see. Definitely recommend you check it out. Good dudes, solid people, really love the scene, really appreciate what they're doing, and more power to them. Next on list, what else do we have here? We've got to run out of time here before we go. Junction 2 new lineup as well has been announced. I'm super happy. I can't wait to go. I'm sure most of you guys are fed up or bored of my ruminations over flipping Junction 2, but this is news that happened I think just a couple of days ago. They announced the lineup and add some more people on the lineup effectively for Junction 2, which I think, in my opinion, I think is the best electronic music festival in London, hands down. I don't think anyone else can come close to it. I've been to a few, I've been to even some others in Europe, and I think in terms of production, in terms of quality of sound, in terms of the crowd that comes out there, the bar, the token system, like the food that's available, stellar production from top to bottom. I think everyone you've seen so far, if you checked out the vlogs, check out my review of the festival this year too, you'll see for the most part everyone's only got glowing things to say about it. If anything, the only thing that's a bit of a downtrodden about it is the over zealous security staff, but for the most part everything else is flipping perfect. So this is news from Resident Advisors. So Junction 2 adds Mashoplex and Dixon to 2020 list. Again, I see Mashoplex, I see Dixon, I buy instantly. London Junction 2 Festival has revealed the second wave of acts. Among those added to June weekender are Mashoplex, Nina Kravitz, Dixon, Mashoplex, Joe Orbison, I'll say it twice, sorry, Nasil Dietman, Octa, and Fatima Yamaha. La. What an absolute banging lineup. Octa, you'll know, plays an amazing house set. I think she's got a recent one similar. Who was it out with? Was it somebody? Was it Sprinkle? I forgot who it was. Maybe Sprinkles, somebody. They've got a really good back-to-back one that came out on Boiler Room just recently. Let me see if I can actually get it up on here. Octa played an amazing set on Boiler Room recently, like a back-to-back set that was absolutely banging. I think I played that in the gym a couple of times and I was just, skanking at the flipping deadlift platform. Let me see if I can get it on here. Octo. Octa Boiler Room. Oh, it was with Eris. It was with what's her name? Eris Drew. There we go. Yeah, that's the one. So this set at Sugar Mountain, I recommend you check it out. I'll play a little bit of it now, but this set was absolutely smasher. Sugar Mountain 2019 at Boiler Room set. Octa and Eris Drew. Really recommend you check it out. Good housey vibes. This is gonna go down really well at flipping Junction 2 Festival. People are gonna absolutely love it. I'm pretty sure they're gonna absolutely love it. That's Eris Drew playing Octa. Oh no, is that Eris Drew? No, it's Octa. Sorry, Eris Drew is the other one with the jean shorts. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But yeah, recommend you check it out. Really cool video. But going back to the news, they joined 6 stages worth of previously announced house and techno artists, including House of Audio, Forte, and Amelie Lenz. That Amelie Lenz night is going to be, or that stage is going to be Ramo. If you want to see what a DJ superstar looks like nowadays, I recommend you check that out. She's had a massive year, really blown up on the scene, been touring all over the place. Her and Charlotte the Way have had an absolutely nutty schedule if you check their RA. So I'm sure that appearance on the Junction 2 Festival stage is going to be an absolute tear up. So I recommend you check that one out. And obviously, Masha, Plex, Dixon, the absolute kings are playing those kind of stages. The London Warehouse Events Run event takes place at Boston Manor, which is, again, for me, the perfect place to have that kind of outdoor festival. I'm not sure because of the location that it is. I'm not sure it's because of the LWE relationship with the local council. But honestly, it's the best sound of any London festival. It's actually loud. You can actually hear a set playing from far away. Before other festivals that you go to, you have to stand exactly at the front. I think even All Points East recently, All Points East Festival had a real problem with the sound. If you watch some videos of people standing way far back in a crowd, they can hardly hear anything. They're asking for the sound to be popped up a bit, but local councils obviously put a limiter on the sound that they can achieve on the night. So for the LWE to achieve that level of sound at Boston Manor is incredible. Might have to do with the fact that it's underneath a motorway, so it doesn't really disturb anyone, but there's still houses around there. If you walk from the station to Boston Manor Park, you know that, it's quite a residential area, but they do a really good job of ferrying everybody from the station all the way to the venue. No hanging around. As soon as the thing is over, get the fuck out of here. Absolutely love it. There's a short video here with a little lineup review showing it on screen. It kind of runs through some of it. Let's quickly check that one out and see this. Friday, 5th of June. More acts to be announced, which is great. They always got some more people popping up. Surprise guests. Of course, representing appearance of Octa, Tasha, Tasker, Zenka Brothers, Anastasia Christensen, which I'm a big fan of. I saw her at Mixed Garage first time. She'll be amazing there. What's the Man in London Park in London? Recommend you check it out. Honestly, for me, easily the best money you will spend in festival season in London. One of my favorite nights to go to, or festivals to go to in London, hands down one of the best out there. Definitely recommend check it out. And some stellar names added to the list already of an absolutely wicked festival. That is it, man. 1 hour of the Agostinho Zinga show. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's been episode number 263. As per usual, if you're watching via YouTube, smash that like button, click subscribe. If you want to come back and see my other videos, if you're listening via the podcast app, leave me a 5-star review. It goes a long way to help people find the show. And if you need to contact myself, click the link below, agostinhozinga.com, click contact, and hit me up if you have any questions. But until then, see you guys very, very soon. Take care. When you're crossing the road, look left and right and make sure you drink all your water. Peace.